Welcome back. This is the second lesson recording for IM1, August 25th, 2020. So we've talked about evaluating expressions using correct order of operations. We've also said that absolute value is a grouping symbol. That means it's really high up. It's the highest level. That means we need to evaluate that first before we do exponents or multiplication or addition, subtraction. So how do we do that? We're going to do 4 examples. So you're going to take notes on this, please. So when you see absolute value symbol, that's the 2 long bars. You're going to treat it very similar to parentheses, which means you're just going to evaluate what's inside first. What's inside the absolute value symbol? That's 12 minus 5. We're going to do that first. What's 12 minus 5? That's just 7. Okay? But notice that the absolute value symbol still stays because we have not evaluated absolute value of 7 yet. Okay, so now we have to evaluate absolute value of 7. How far is 7 from 0? It's just 7 units away. So the answer is 7. Okay, that's what absolute value function is. It's asking you for the magnitude or distance from 0. Hopefully you got that by watching the Edpuzzle video that was assigned to you as part of your homework. Let's try another example. This time the problem is absolute value of 5 minus 12, close absolute value symbol. Okay, so before it was 12 minus 5, but now this time it's 5 minus 12. How is that going to be different? Well, the way we go through it is the same to begin with. We're going to treat this symbol as a parenthesis, so we're going to evaluate what's inside first. What's 5 minus 12? That's not 7, but it's negative 7. Okay, now we still have the absolute value symbol because we have not evaluated the absolute value of number yet. Okay, what's absolute? Now this is where we evaluate what's absolute value of negative 7. How far is negative 7 from 0? It's just 7 units away, right? That's what absolute value is. So it's also 7. Notice the example 1 and 2 both have the same answers. Let's try another example. Absolute value of negative 3 multiplied by 4 plus 2, close absolute value. Okay, now again we have to treat it like a parenthesis, which means we have to evaluate inside first. We need to do negative 3 times 4 first. Okay, because that's the order in which we need to evaluate inside. Okay, we do that before addition. So negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. And then plus 2, we are left with that. We still have not simplified inside as yet. So we have at negative 12 plus 2 is negative 10. Now we are asking ourselves, okay, how far is negative 10 from 0? Or what is the absolute value of negative 10? It's just 10. Okay, this is where the absolute value symbol goes away as you evaluate. What is the absolute value of negative 10? It's 10. Okay, let's try the last example. We have 4 absolute value of negative 5 plus 2, close absolute value. Okay, now we have this number 4. What does this number 4 do? Okay, it means multiply, just like when you have a number 4 right in parentheses, the default is that you're going to multiply the two numbers. 4 times the parentheses, right? So it's going to be the same thing. It's 4 times absolute value of 5 plus 2. Again, we need to evaluate inside the parentheses first. So we need to do negative 5 plus 2, which is negative 3. And then to that, you're going to multiply that by 4. But we have not dealt with the absolute value yet. So we need to evaluate the absolute value. To get rid of these bars, we need to evaluate the absolute value. Okay, so what's absolute value of negative 3? It's positive 3. And then to that, you're going to multiply by 4. So you get 12 as your final answer. Okay? All right, so then now we're going to go on to a slightly different problem, we're going to be talking about evaluating. Okay, is this the same or different? The two problems. Evaluate the expression 3 times 5 minus 2 and evaluate the expression 3x minus 2 when x is equal to 5. I see a lot of things are similar, but this time for number 2 we have x. Is this x a multiply symbol or is it a variable? It's a variable. Okay, so that is a part of the reason we don't want to use the x as a multiply symbol anymore. We want to use that dot. Okay, because x, the variable x, is going to be used as x. So are they the same or are they different? I want you to pause the video and just have a quick think about it. Okay, well, let's break this apart a little bit. The first one is it's an expression with just numbers. There's no variable, just the numbers. 3 multiplied by 5 minus 2. Numbers and operations. So you just need to use the order of operation rule to evaluate. What about the second one? The expression has an unknown variable x. So that means that we need to just substitute 5 whenever we see the x symbol. Okay, whenever you see a x, instead of writing x, you're going to write the value 5. That's what it means. So that it becomes the same expression. 3 times absolute 5 minus 2. Okay, so that's what it becomes. So you're going to take some notes here. Take notes of, so evaluate. What does evaluate mean? It means to calculate the value or the number. Expression, which is a math phrase made up of numbers, variables, and math operations. Those are two vocabulary that you should be aware of at this point, please. Evaluate and expression. Let's try some examples. So we are going to try 2 different examples. The key, when you're evaluating, the key to it is you're going to substitute in the given value into the expression, and you're going to do it with parentheses, and then you're going to use order of operation to evaluate. Let me demonstrate that. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so we're trying to evaluate the expression negative x plus 4 when x is negative 3. So we are going to write the expression again. It's always a good idea to write the original problem first. And then instead of wherever I see an x, I am going to replace that with a parenthesis. And please do this step. I know some of you are thinking, oh, I already know this step. Okay, and then inside the parenthesis, instead of writing x, because x and negative 3 are same in value, that's what this equal sign says. Instead of writing x, I can replace that with negative 3 here. Okay, if I do that, the expression becomes negative of negative 3 plus 4. What do we know about when we see negative and negative right next to each other? It just becomes positive, positive. They both become positive, positive. Okay, so that means that it just becomes 3 plus 4, which evaluates to 7. I should have done it over here, but okay, let's do a next problem. Okay, so the next problem says negative 3m squared plus 2 when m is negative 5. Again, same process. You are going to rewrite this negative 3m squared plus 2. And now instead of writing m, I am going to replace that with a parenthesis. Please do this first. And then instead of writing m, because I am told that m and negative 5 are exactly the same value, I can replace m as negative 5 here. Okay? Now the question becomes, what is the operation between negative 3 and this negative 5? It's multiplication, right? Remember the parenthesis is always multiplication. Now we have multiplication and exponent and addition. Which is the highest order of operation? It's the exponents, right? So it's the exponents. That means what is negative 5 squared? Well, what does negative 5 squared mean? That means negative 5 is being multiplied to itself twice. That's what it means. So negative 5 squared is same as negative 5 times negative 5. And toward, we still have negative 3 here, and we still have to add 2 here. So I am just going to write the rest. And what is negative 5 times negative 5? That's going to be 5 times 5 is 25. Negative times negative is just positive 5. So that's just positive 25 multiplied by negative 3 plus 2. Negative 3 times 25 is 3 times 25 is 75. Negative times positive is negative plus 2. Negative 75 plus 2 is you're subtracting, or you're adding two numbers with opposite signs. So that means we need to find the difference. 75 minus 2 is 73. What's the bigger number? 75 is a bigger number than 2. And toward is a negative sign symbol to it. So the answer is negative 73. Okay? All right, so you should be taking notes on this right now. Okay, and then next up, the students went into their team groups, and we solved this together. Since you are going to be doing it on your own, please pause the video, copy these 4 problems down, and see if you can solve them yourself. The answers are shown in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to go through this quickly. So instead of writing x, I'm going to replace that with parentheses, minus 2. And because x is exactly the same as negative 2, instead of writing x, I am going to write negative 2. So that becomes 4 times negative 2, that's negative 8, minus 2. What's negative 8 minus 2? We are adding two numbers with same sign. That means we add the two numbers, 10. What are we dealing with? We're dealing with negative 2 at negative numbers, so it's negative 10. What about next one? Okay, instead of writing n, I'm going to replace it with parentheses. And where instead of writing n, because n and 5 have exactly the same value, I am going to replace it with 5. So that just becomes negative 5 plus 2 times 5. Again, multiplication is before addition subtraction. 2 times 5 is 10 plus negative 5. Negative 5 plus 10 is positive 5. Okay, all right, then number 3. We are going to use, remember that fraction line is a grouping symbol. Which means that we need to evaluate the numerator first, and then the denominator, and then divide the two, numerator divide by denominator. So again, we're going to do the same thing. 6 minus 10 parentheses divide by 2 parentheses. And instead of writing m, I am going to write 3 and 3 here. And that just becomes 6 minus, now 10 times 3 is 30. And 2 times 6, 3 is 6. Now 6 minus 30 is negative 24 divided by 6. What's 24 divided by 6? That's just 4. Negative divided by positive is negative, so it's going to be negative 4. And then finally, the last one, negative squared plus 2, where p is 5. This is a very common problem. It's not negative 5 being squared. Which is first? When you see a negative sign, this is really like saying, this is like there is an invisible 1 right there. Okay, so and negative 1 is being multiplied. So it's negative 1 multiplied by 5 squared plus 2. What's 5 squared? Remember, between multiplication and exponents comes first. So we need to do this. 5 squared is 25 multiplied by negative 1 plus 2. Negative 1 times 25 is negative 25 plus 2. And that's negative 25 plus 2 is negative 23. Okay, and that was the lesson for the day. We did a lot of group work, and we did a lot of practices. You have, for homework, you have a worksheet with absolute value, and for evaluating as part of your homework. There are odd answers, so please make sure you check your answers as well. Thank you.